Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is Cambridge Physics 5054 course, and I'm your teacher, Mariam Rafique. Today we're gonna discuss chapter number 4, that is mass, weight, and density. Before getting into the core concepts of this chapter, I would like to share some learning outcomes, so that by the end of this lecture you will be able to define density and recall and use the formula density is equal to mass per volume. Explain that weights and therefore masses may be compared using a balance. Describe how to measure mass and weight by using appropriate balances. Density of a substance is its mass per unit volume. The formula is written here. Density is equal to m over v, or mass over volume. The SI unit of density is kg or kilogram per cubic meter. The other common unit is gram per cubic centimeter. Students, for a pure substance, the density has the same numerical value as its mass concentration. So different materials usually have different densities, and density may be relevant to purity and packaging. For example, osmium and iridium are the densest known elements at standard conditions for temperature and pressure. So to simplify comparisons of density across different systems of units, it is sometimes replaced by the dimensionless quantity, or you can say relative density or specific gravity. That is the ratio of density of the material to that of a standard material, usually water. Thus, a relative density less than 1 means that the substance floats in water. The density of a material varies with temperature and pressure, and this variation is typically small for solids and liquids, but much greater for gases. So increasing the pressure on an object decreases the volume of the object and thus increases its density. So increasing the temperature of a substance, with a few exceptions, decreases its density by increasing its volume. So in most materials, heating the bottom of a fluid results in convection of the heat from the bottom to the top, and due to the decrease in the density of the heated fluid, and this causes it to rise relative to more dense unheated material. And formula, you can see that D is equal to m over v. The reciprocal of density of a substance is occasionally called its specific volume, or a term sometimes used in thermodynamics. So density is an intensive property in that increasing the amount of a substance does not increase its density, rather it increases its mass. Now we have to see some questions regarding density to understand the concept better. Do you think the gold bars, gold chain, and gold coin have the same density? The answer is yes. The density of a substance is constant. That does not depend on its shape or volume. So you have to keep it in your mind that the glass has a density of 2500 kg or kilogram per cubic meter. That means that 1 cubic meter of glass has a mass of 2500 kgs. Same is the case with the silver. Silver has a density of 10.5 gram per cubic centimeter. That means that 1 cubic centimeter of silver has a mass of 10.5 grams. Now, the density blocks are made of different materials, but they have the same volume. You can see in picture. How do you determine which block has the largest density? So the answer is the density is actually mass per volume, and their volume are the same. So the larger the mass, the larger the density. So measure the mass of the blocks. The block with the largest mass will have the largest density. Now you can see in picture that all the rods on the right have the same mass. The question is, which rod has the smallest density? The answer is the longest rod has the smallest density. As we know that density is equal to mass per volume, since mass is constant, density will be inversely proportional to volume. Hence, the smallest density rod will have the largest volume, or you can say the longest rod. Now there is another question that the density of olive oil is 0.92 gram per cubic centimeter. What is the volume of 500 grams of olive oil? So here the volume is equal to mass over density. We know the value of mass, we know the value of density, so we can calculate the third and missing parameter, that is volume. So 500 divided by 0.92 is equal to 544 or 544 cubic centimeter is the correct answer. In next case, the mass of an empty beaker is 110 grams. The total mass of the beaker is 158 grams. And when 50 cubic centimeter of a liquid is poured into it, what is the density of the liquid? So we know that density is equal to mass per unit volume. Now we have to see the difference between the two values, that is 158, you can say the mass of the beaker, and 110 grams, that is the mass of empty beaker, and divided by the volume of the liquid, that is 50 cubic centimeters. So by taking the difference, you will get 48 divided by 50, and the answer would be 0.96 gram per cubic centimeter. Now there is another case study that a room is 4 meter long, 2.5 meter wide, and 2 meter high. If the density of air in the room is 1.3 kg per cubic meter, what is the mass of air in the room? So mass is equal to density times volume. So by putting the values of density and the volume of the room as 4 by 2.5 by 2, the answer would be 26 kg. That would be the mass. Now when two liquids of different densities are poured into the same container, the denser one will sink and the less dense liquid will float. And when a solid is placed in a liquid, it will float if its density is lower than the liquid's density, and it will sink if it is denser than the liquid. Now the question is, why is the woman able to float in the Dead Sea effortlessly? The density of Dead Sea is very high. Due to its high salt content, and human body is less dense than the Dead Sea, hence she is able to float in the Dead Sea. The another question is, why does normal Coke sink in water while Diet Coke floats in water? So Diet Coke contains less sugar than normal Coke. Hence, its density is less since it contains a lot of gas, and its density will be smaller than that of water and will float. Now, what are the devices we use to measure mass and weight? So the answer of this question is, on Earth, we use scales to measure mass and weight. So we can use spring scales or hydraulic scales to name a few. Because we are on Earth, an object with 100 kg mass is said to be weigh 100 kg. But remember, on other planets, where there is less gravity, it will not weigh as much, even though it will always have the same mass. Now these are some instruments we have to see in the picture, and a beam balance or beam scale is a device to measure weight or mass. So these are also known as mass scales, weight scales, mass balances, and weight balances, or you can say simply scales, balances, or balance scales. These are used to measure weight and mass. Now this is the time for assignment, students. Here is a think, pair, share. Now I'm sharing some MCQ questions here. Please try to solve them. The first question is, the diagram shows a material with dimensions 5 cm into 4 cm into 2 cm. It has a mass of 100 grams. You can see all these values in your diagram. Now what you have to calculate? You have to find the density of the material. And here are 4 options. A, 0.40 gram per cubic centimeter, 5.0 gram per cubic centimeter, 2.5 gram per cubic centimeter, or 10 grams per cubic centimeter. Please calculate the density and find out the correct option. The next question is, a plumber needs to measure the internal diameter of a water pipe as accurately as possible. So which instrument should be used? You have to recall some of your knowledge from chapter number 1. So option A is measuring tape, option B is meter rule, option C micrometer, option D vernier calipers. So think about it, recall all the concepts, and try to find out the correct option. The next question is, a brick is placed on a Newton balance X and then on a beam balance Y. So what is measured by each balance? Now you have to make some comparisons here. So option A, according to balance X or balance Y, is mass. Option B, according to balance X and according to balance Y, is mass weight. Option C, according to balance X and balance Y, weight mass. And option D, balance X is weight and balance Y is weight. So please try to solve these questions and find out the correct options. Thank you so much and good luck.